welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me for another one of my videos today. So today I wanted to do a video all about why you should never dim your light. So this has been a conversation that has come up quite a lot in my coaching sessions recently and with friends also, of people saying people are either too much, too this, too that, or you know, that they shouldn't do this or that, or they should dim their light. Essentially, you shouldn't be your true self, you should dull yourself down and dim your light, basically. And it just made me like angry for these people. I was like, no, do not dim your light, because that is definitely not the thing to do. So I always say, when someone turns up as their authentic self, they scare people. And they do. And I did this and it was so funny. So basically I posted on Instagram all about this, a quote literally saying that, and I was just talking about it in general, and so many people got triggered by it and were like questioning me, and I was like, whoa, like this was generalized. So for me, I was like, wow, okay, like it really does scare people. And I never could understand really why people would treat me in certain ways, or say certain things to me, or even just tell me to like literally, someone in my life even told me when I was dating to not tell people what I did for a job, and to just not tell them and lie, because I would scare men off and I would intimidate them. And I was like, what? Like, why would you ever advise that to me, of all people? Like, what a bloody hypocrite would I be? Like, I don't want to hide who I am. I don't want to hide what I do. If people don't like it, Sodom. Like, I literally couldn't care. So for me, I'm very headstrong with this stuff. Like, I've got to a place in my life where I've worked on my self-love so much that I literally could not care what people think. And you know, if my being myself is threatening or scary to people, like, what the hell? Like, all I'm doing is sharing love and positivity. So that's their own stuff. So a lot of the time when someone like either shames you, or you know, says you're too this, too that, you should dull down, you should like get back in your box sort of thing, it's really because they're like threatened by your power. Like, they're threatened by your strength, your courage, your confidence even. Like, you know, they're like, how can you, and I've seen this and I've even heard this from people as well, of like, how can you just sit there and be so confident? How can you just sit there and be so happy? How can you just sit there? And it's like, because I do the work. Like, I do the work, that's why. So yes, like, it's taken me years to get to that place, but even if you're not feeling in that place, like, that's no reason to tear someone else down or bring them to your level because you don't feel that way. So when someone does say that to you, know it is because you are triggering something within them that they can't be truthful with themselves. Like, you know, if you are triggering that in somebody, it's because they wish they could be as authentic as you. They wish they could be as confident. They wish they could be as honest. They wish they could shine like you, essentially. And I always say to people, like, especially like when I do my Instagram posts, or you know, I do my coaching, I'm always like, if someone can't handle your shine, they need to get sunglasses. You don't dim your shine to fit in with those people. If they can't handle it, they either get sunglasses or they need to leave your life. Like, you know, you should never have to compromise who you are as a person to satisfy somebody else or to make someone else feel comfortable, because normally you will, like, you know, obviously if you're watching this video, you're very much probably on a spiritual path, you're evolving, you're using the law of attraction, and you're, you know, you are doing your work. So you're moving up that kind of like scale of up leveling, of all sorts of things, of doing your work, healing, becoming more confident, working on self-love. You're doing all these amazing things to work to your vibration, to live a happy life. And if someone's not doing that themselves, they're going to be at that lower vibration. They're going to be at that lower vibration where it's just triggering to see you in that place, so they try and drag you down to their level. So they're like, oh good, she's back on my level, sort of thing, when actually it's like, no, you can raise up and meet me here. Like, you can be happy too if you do the work. You can feel this confident, you can shine this brightly, you can be as honest if you do the work too. So always remember that it's not that you are too much or too this. And I hear it so many times, it just makes me really sad to hear it. Like, in my life, I'm very lucky. I've never really been called too much or anything, because I was always so timid. I was always so quiet. And as a child, I was just like in the background. I was like non-existent. But in my adult life, obviously that's been very different. I've kind of stepped into my true power. I've had to be confident. I've had to, like, you know, step into that confident queen power throughout both of my businesses. So now people are like, where's this Emma? Who's this person? And I'm like, I've always been this person, like, you know, just took a spiritual awakening for it to come out. So you should never apologize for who you are as a person, like never, ever, 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 ever. Because if someone can't handle that, like, that's not your problem. Now, obviously, if you were like doing bad things or you were in a negative vibration or like doing, you know, bad things, then obviously I can understand why someone may critique that or be like, maybe you shouldn't do that. But ultimately, like if you're living in your true authentic self and someone is trying to bring you down to their level or tell you not to shine as brightly, like that's just not your shit to deal with. That's not your issue. And it's really about like knowing within yourself that you are just triggering that person, and it's okay. Like, that's what I'm here to do. So whenever like people do say stuff to me or they're just like, you know, whatever, I'm like, okay, it's because I'm showing up. It's because like my work is actually here to trigger people. And you know, there was even an incident yesterday of like, I posted something on Instagram and this woman was like, you know, not in a nasty way, like it was not a nasty way. She just brought up a point that basically I triggered her, and she almost like wanted me to apologize for the fact that her, like one person out of like 99.999% of people who loved that post, resonated and agreed with that post, she always wanted me to like apologize for the fact that she had been triggered by something really truthful. Now, what I was actually asking, or what I was, you know, putting out in that post, is that people should do gratitude every day, and if you don't have the time to do gratitude, stop making excuses. And she was, you know, I'm asking for 5 minutes. I'm not asking you to murder someone here. I'm asking people to literally for 5 minutes a day to make the time for their practices, to show up and do the work. If you want results, you've got to show up. So everybody like obviously agreed with it because it is the truth, apart from this one person. And again, like it was not negative. Like their approach to this was not negative. It was just basically trying to make me apologize or feel sorry for the fact I had triggered this woman, when I was like, no, I'm not going to apologize for that, because this is what my work is. If my work is triggering you, good, because it's making you think in a different way. It's making you question what you're doing at the moment. And you know, I'm not going to sit there and encourage someone to sit in a negative space. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, it's okay, like don't worry, like you don't have to be positive, like you can just sit in your negativity. No, if you want change and you want to feel good, you have to be the change. You have to make those changes. So if you are in the same kind of sphere as I am, if you share inspiration online, or even if you're like just talking about maybe controversial things in general, or you're a change maker or whatever, even if you know you don't do this online and you do this in your own life, people aren't always going to like that, because you're making them think differently. You're making them have to see that they're, you know, that they could step up and they could do this work, but they're actually choosing not to. So that's just a real good example of why you just shouldn't apologize for this stuff. Like, oh my god, if I'd asked people and like been an absolute bitch in that post, I could understand. But at the end of the day, all I was saying was, you know, a very valid point, being very considerate to people and saying like, you know, if you have time to sit on social media and scroll through your phone and go through this, you have time to sit and do 5 minutes of gratitude. So they are excuses, and unfortunately when you call someone's bullshit out, they get triggered by it. And you know, some people voice that, some people don't. But I'm glad my work triggered that person. I'm glad my work probably triggers a lot of people, because it triggers people into thinking differently. It triggers people into questioning and thinking, maybe there is something more here. Maybe I could see things differently. Maybe I should try this and see how I feel. You know, these are all positive things. They're not anything negative. I'm not telling people to try drugs or anything, you know, like trying gratitude and meditation, Jesus, like, anyway. But that's my whole point of, I'm not going to sit there and apologize for that, because that's exactly what my work is here to do, to awaken people, to show people a different way of doing things. And you are exactly the same. You should not apologize for living your true authentic life and being you, because you are you. And if people don't like that, then they need to go and find other people, because you are you and you should not change who you are. Like, well, obviously we evolve and change through relationships, through friendships, through life in general. Like, I feel like a new person every single year, but that's like a natural evolution where I'm doing my work and I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it for anybody else. I'm doing it for myself. And, you know, you're just kind of becoming a better, or, you know, yeah, you're becoming like a better version of yourself essentially. So the more you kind of up level, the more you do your work, the more you show up, the more you do self-love, the more you talk about spirituality, because people hate that too, it's going to cause conversation. People are going to make judgments. People are going to say, you're too this, you're too that. Like, oh, you're a woo-woo spiritual person. Like, you're just too spiritual. You're just too loud. You're just too confident. You're just too this. Like, you should really simmer down. And like Taylor Swift's song here, you need to calm down. I feel like this is very representative of this, this whole topic. You know, like, you shouldn't have to dull your sparkle for people who just can't handle your shine. Simple. Like, get sunglasses. Like, and anybody who like has to bring you down to their level, like, I know I keep saying this, but anybody who has to keep bringing you down to your level is just like, what? Like, why would you do that? Like, you know, why don't you come and meet us up here? Like, why don't you come and just like try these things or do the work? You know, if you're feeling triggered because someone loves themselves or feels confident, maybe that person could show you that self-love. Maybe that person could show you a different way and actually show you how to feel good in yourself. Like, that's how I always look at things, but obviously I appreciate that not everybody does always see things like that. So really, like, when someone, and this is the best way I've dealt with these things, is in situations where definitely if someone is being triggered by you and you feel like the right thing to do is say like, I'm sorry that you're feeling this way, but actually here's how we could look at it differently, then obviously do that. In that situation, I obviously explained I'm obviously not going to do that because it's my work and I was asking people to do gratitude. Like, it was hardly offensive. It was hardly like, you know, offensive. So, you know, like, there have been situations in my life where I have sat there and said, look, I'm really sorry that you're feeling triggered by this, but that's not me doing that. Like, how can we look at this differently? What is this triggering for you? And like, you know, I can't be responsible for the fact you're triggered by me just being me. Like, let's look at this realistically. And when you actually call that out with someone, like, they are like, oh yeah, because what can you answer to that? They can't be like, oh, you as a person trigger me. You'd be like, well, okay, well, that's your own problem. That's not me. Like, I'm not going to stop doing what I do and apologize for the fact that you obviously need to do some work in an area. So what I always suggest is like, definitely be sensitive with these sort of things, because obviously, like, you know, if someone is hurting and is in pain, you want to be sensitive, you want to be compassionate, and you want to understand that actually it's not them hating on you, it's not necessarily that you've done anything wrong, it's just that as a spiritual being, you're gonna trigger people. So it's just a case of being that compassionate soul and listening, and obviously, you know, just explaining, you know, like, okay, let's look at the deeper meaning here, the deeper reason why you are being triggered. Like, it's not me as a person that's doing this, it's actually like maybe something linked to their childhood, or maybe something linked to their past, and actually you can actually shine light on that for them and say, hey, like, why don't you read this book? I think that would be good. Hey, why don't you watch this video? Hey, why don't you listen to this podcast? I think it would be really good. So always just, you know, try and be that like compassionate person who can obviously help someone in that situation. But ultimately, you know, if someone wants to take advice, great. If they don't, you can't force them. So just know that it's never personal. It's never personal to you, and you should never ever dim your light. Use it as an opportunity to help someone. Use it as an opportunity to show somebody a different way of seeing things. And you know, that's what I did in my life when I was told to, obviously, when I was dating, you know, don't tell people what you do for a job, you know, you'll scare people off. I was like, the right person will never be scared off with my work. And I said, you know, Mr. Right will love what I do, he will accept what I do and support what I do, and I would never have to dim my light for that person. And there was no conversation after that, because what could you argue with that? Like, I'm not just gonna entertain meaningless people and lie. Like, that's not who I am. So at the end of the day, like, you just have to speak your truth. You have to speak your truth, stay in your truth, and stay in your authentic self, because soon enough, like, the logic will be flawed and they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, definitely. And it's just a case of like reactiveness. When people say that stuff, it's reactiveness. So it's really about just taking yourself out of that and being like, okay, this person is reacting, that's okay. Just be neutral, be calm, and address it from a place of saying like, okay, I'm sorry you feel this way, but this isn't, you know, it's not actually to do with me. Like, let's look at this, you know, I'm not going to change who I am because I'm being positive, I'm being honest, I'm being authentic, that's who I am. Like, why would you want me to be anything else? Like, let's look at the deeper meaning of why it's triggering you. Like maybe if it's the confidence, okay, how can we help you be more confident? If it's the self-love, well, here, read this book, this will really help you, this is what I did, like I hope it helps you too. Like just rephrasing it and turning it into those kind of situations like can really just help, because not only does it make the person feel like you've actually taken on board and like you're helping them and there's a positive outcome to it, hopefully, if they do take on the help. For you, it allows yourself to witness that actually these comments aren't about you at all. They're really not. They're really not. It's something so much more deep rooted within someone else. So know that it is projection. Like all negativity is projection. And remember the famous saying, like I always mix up the names, but you get my drift. What Sally says about Susan says more about Sally than it does about Susan. And it's so true. Like negativity is so loud. Negativity and hate is loud because that's just the vibration of the collective at the moment. And sometimes the positive energy can be quiet, and that's why negativity feels so loud and it's triggering and it's upsetting, because you think, well, why would someone say that to me? Why would someone do that to me? But equally, if you can respond with love and turn up with love and turn up with a creative solution and just turn that and take yourself out of victim mode, be like, okay, I know this is not about me. I know that this person doesn't really mean this, and I know that I'm not to this, I'm not to that, I don't need to change myself. So actually, how can I look at this situation differently? How can I help this person? And if they're triggered by that, they obviously maybe might want that quality in themselves, or they might want to be more confident, or you know, do what I do. So how could I help them see it differently? How could I help them get to this place? So it seems like a weird, I guess, thing to do, because most people would be like, oh, well, you just ignore it, or, you know, sod them sort of thing. Or some people even listen to it, and it's heartbreaking, because you should never have to change who you are for anybody. Like, hell no. Like, to the right people, to your right tribe, to the right person, to the right person in general, like, you will be perfect, like, enough. And friends, family, loved ones, whatever relationships will always support that and support your growth, support like the best version of yourself. So just remember, when someone says something to you like that, you're triggering something within them that they want. So you have something that they are lacking or they want, and they just are so frustrated that they can't maybe do that right now, or have that right now, or maybe did have it and don't feel confident or self-love anymore. And you are triggering that within them, because they're like, well, how can you just do that so easily? How can you just sit there and be positive? How can you just sit there and be happy? How can you just sit there and love yourself? How can you just sit there and do that? And I've heard all of these things before. And instead of reacting, instead of like feeling guilty for the fact that I have dedicated years to self-help, to reading books, to educating myself, to helping people, to turning up every single day for my practices, I do gratitude every single day without fail. And that is why I can sit mostly in that place. Obviously, we're cyclic beings, not every day is a good day, and it's important to highlight that to anybody who is saying those things as well, because not every day is going to be a good day. We're all human, we're cyclic beings, we go through happy phases, negative phases, collective energy. Like, there's so many different things affecting our kind of flow of energy and our kind of ebbing and flowing of how our vibrations are, that it's impossible for anybody to just stay constantly positive, because it's just not how life works. So I think it's just reminding people that, hey, I know how you feel. Like, I have, you know, I've felt that emotion before. It's that compassion at the end of the day. And Brene Brown talks about this a lot, of how to, when someone is feeling in that triggered place, you could be like, hey, I know how you feel, it's okay. And like, let's talk about this in a different way of, okay, so you're feeling triggered by self-love. I know how that feels, let's talk about it. So having compassion with someone can really help that situation as well, because when you can say, me too, like, I know how you feel, people instantly have that connection, instead of the disconnection that is, you know, so vast in this, you know, collective, in this world right now. So having connection with people is so important, because they feel disconnected. That's why they're hating, that's why they're saying these things. They feel disconnected from themselves, from other people, potentially from you, and and they're trying to bring you down to that level, when actually you can be that helping hand to say, no, come on, let's step up, let's help you, let's get you in that positive place. If you want to feel like this is what you've got to do. So I hope this video has been helpful to you, but absolutely never ever 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 dull your shine for someone who can't handle it. Like, just don't, because you should never have to apologize for being you. You are beautiful, you are amazing, and you are so unique, and you never ever ever have to apologize for that. Absolutely not. Like, don't apologize for anything. Well, obviously maybe I should rephrase that. Apologize for obviously what you should apologize for, if you've done anything wrong or hurt someone, obviously. But don't apologize for being your authentic self. Don't apologize for turning up as your best self. Don't apologize for living your purpose, for doing your purpose, for helping people, for being confident, for being funny, like whatever it is, for being beautiful. Like, oh my god, like even people who are, you know, who have gorgeous features are like shamed for it. And it's like, never ever ever apologize for being you and being a good person and for being kind and for being just positive, because it will trigger people, but see it as a positive. See it, well, actually the fact that it has triggered someone will hopefully allow them to question their thoughts. If I can help them with that, maybe they can see it differently. Maybe they can change that mind pattern or mindset to see things differently and to actually feel happier within themselves. So I hope this video has helped you guys. As always, don't forget you can join my free Law of Attraction support group over on Facebook, where you can join myself and other like-minded souls, where we talk all things Law of Attraction and positivity. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate all your views and likes. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, because I would love to see you again soon. Don't forget to leave me a comment in the comments box down below, because I reply to them all, and I will see you in my next video, which will be next week. Lots of love, guys.